Sure, sure. My name is Eric K. Thomas, and I am with the Quintessential Gentleman.
All right.
Hey,
All right. Perfect, perfect. So again, gentlemen, Mr. Domingo, Mr. Turman, Mr. Potts, I appreciate you so much for even allowing us to do this, to be a part of this, and then also just for the art that you guys have created. And I just want to jump into this. And just first question goes out to Michael. I want to know, how important was it to stay true to August Wilson's art of storytelling of the African American experience?
All important. All important. You can't do it if you aren't, because August Wilson's work is so authentic that it will embarrass you,
yeah,
plain and simple. If you do not bring a truth and authenticity to it, it will show you up because it's not a easy language to do to get and you may think you got it. You may
Mhm.
think you understand it, but you really don't until you get into it and you understand the music of it and you let it begin to play you as much as you can't dominate it. You have to let it play you. And if you don't, as I said, it will mess you up. It will embarrass you. It will highlight everything that you are not doing right or that you're not capable of. So it's all important. All important.
Coleman, Glenn, any other adds to that?
I think that's well said. Bottom line. The essential, no, the essential that Michael says, and take note of that is let it play you.
Yep.
Let music play you. Let those words play you. You become the instrument, and let those words have its way with you, because you ain't gonna. It's not gonna come out any other way if you don't.
Exactly. Exactly. So, talking about the words, talking about the conversations, again, we're at Black Men's Platform. So these conversations that you guys are having, the majority of the conversations of this film was just very on par and very interesting to us specifically. What question I have for you, Glenn, is why is it important for the color man to figure out his role in society after he realized that he is the leftover of the stew?
Because if you don't realize, you have to know what you were brought over here to do.
Hmm.
We were brought over here for a very specific reason. And so if you don't continue to find, now that everything is done, everything that you were brought over here is done, and you're not needed in that area anymore, you're warehouse material. All you're set to do is be warehoused like any other manufactured or manufacturing piece of equipment. So you have to understand that now I must have my own ideas as to how to make me relevant in society. If I don't become relevant in society, I'm going to be warehoused. What keeps me relevant? We have to become collectively aware of what keeps us relevant. What do we contribute? What is our worth? And if we don't come to the realization that that's what it is, because it was defined for us, and at the time that was fine and all well and good, that was our safety net. But that's gone. So what do I need it for? What I need you for now, they're saying, is to kill each other, beat each other up, rob each other, brutalize one another. Because I built a big warehouse called the prison industrial system. And I can use you there because it makes me money there to have your body stored there. So every time you do that to your brother, cha-ching, cha-ching, baby. Keep it up. Good work. Cha-ching, cha-ching. And we don't know it. we think we're being red, white, or blue. You understand my point, young man?
I do. Yes, sir. Wow. Thank you. Colman, Michael, I can't, I don't even know if there's anything you guys can say after these responses.
No.
That's it.
That's it.
Wrap.
That's it.
Yeah.
I get it. That's a wrap. It's cancer interview.
Yeah.
We're done. Colman, this one is for you. So Levy, played by Mr. Bozeman.
I don't see your name in lights.
Oh, I just play the piece, whatever they want. I don't criticize other people's music.
I ain't like you, Color. I got talent.
Doesn't have faith in God because of the experiences of his past and with his mother. And it just, after seeing this, like this is really a conversation I think needs to be happening. But I wonder your thoughts on if you feel that some Black people do struggle with the acceptance of God or Christianity due to the history of Black people and the treatment of Black people.
Well, I'll start by saying this. Not this election, but the election before. I happened to be in an Uber in Atlanta. And me and this young brother, we were talking about, I was talking about, I can't wait. Aren't you excited to vote? He was like, well, man, I ain't going to vote. My vote don't mean nothing. I was like, what do you mean your vote doesn't mean nothing? Now we're driving along Andrew Young Boulevard. And I'm like, yo, you know who Andrew Young is? And blah, blah, blah. And we're in Atlanta and I'm explaining all this and John Lewis and everything. And I did the movie Selma. So I was really and he just was telling me, he said, nothing changed in my life and what I see. So I'm not going to vote. And I got so upset. Actually, we got so upset. We were going at it. I was like, I think I'm going to get out here. And I got out and I walked and I was mad. I was going to go get some ribs, by the way. Just that's part of the story. I was going to go get some ribs. And so I was like, I'm hoofing just the next 2 blocks to get me some ribs. And I was mad. And I was so angry and I was so upset. And then I had to think about this. It stayed with me. And I had to think about this brother in this conversation and the receipts that he presented to me. Now, my receipts were like, this works. It works. I have to believe in this. I believe in this, or I don't know what I believe in anymore. Because I have to believe that this system works and that we can use it and galvanize it together as we've seen, but we can, I believe. Mm-hmm. But also I thought that I had to sit with it and I had to understand what he meant and how he felt. And that also broke my heart. It broke my heart for the system and the receipts that he had that showed him that he felt that his life didn't matter or his vote didn't matter. And so I was like, so there was this argument of ideology and we're both right and we're both wrong at the same time, I think. You know what I mean? So I think that's an argument that we have as people, as men, as Black men, you name it. We have it in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, in particular when it comes to about God and faith. And I think that that's something in the recesses of our mind, the thing that may pain us to think, what if that person is right? They showed me enough receipts to say that they're right. And that really hurts me. So then who am I? Then you have to do a whole different new reexamination. So I think that's what's prevalent in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom. And I do believe it's prevalent with, just as it was in that Uber ride that I had. That, and of course, as we know that we're, people always like to say, we're not people, media pundits, sometimes they say, call us the Blacks, like we're all one thing. We all believe one thing. We have one vote. We have one mind. And I think what we do know, we understand as Black men, as Black people, is that we're not a monolith, that we all have different points of view and different ways in. And I think that with Ma Rainey's Black Bottom, I think the most beautiful thing is to see this pressure cooker between these men with different ideologies and different faiths, trying to wrestle with each other on what's right.
I agree. So even going in that same token, Michael, I'm gonna come back to you. Why were the different generational perspectives vital to this film?
Well, because, change. It's change, it's progress. Something new was happening in music. Ma was the mother of the blues, but you had Bessie Smith as well, who was becoming even more popular. And Levy was bringing in this new sound. People wanted to dance more. So it became, as he was moving more into the precursor to jazz, what was going to become jazz. And so he represented the future. And we're caught in this space that we're in, that we own, more or less, because we're part of Ma Rainey, and she is the queen of this particular era, but the world is moving. And Levy and anything new, it's disruptive.
Mhm.
And Levy was this disruptive force in this band. I mean, he's the youngest. He was the most recently hired by Cutler, so he's a new element, and he's impetuous. He's all of that, and so you have to deal with that. And so as older band members and older men, we're trying to calm him down or trying to show him possible ways he could do, or telling him, wait, take your time, or what you think you need, you may not need it, in a sense. Because I think Slow Drag's perspective is you don't need the white man to do this for you. Look what we have here. We don't need to be up here making no albums. We're huge from where we are. This world that we own through Ma is ours. People love us. I mean, there become this little short argument between Slow Drag and Levy about, we say we packed them in. So we don't need this new thing, I think becomes part of Slow Drag's conflict with this younger generation of this character of Levy. Is we don't need that because we have success. We have this success. We can depend upon ourselves to continue being successful and taking care of ourselves.
Well, and the frustrating thing is that Levy has a great point. He has great, his arguments are very well grounded. Very well grounded. He's absolutely right. Why should he be happy with a bone when somebody eating a whole hog?
And he's missing that how much that hog gonna cost him.
Of course he's missing. But that's his point.
It's like, you're right. You can have that whole hog, but that whole hog is gonna cost you a lot. And you may not be ready for that price just yet. Just yet.
So do you think that these type of conversations between these generations, because we see in the film, ultimately, it's just a clash. There is no growth from there. There's no understanding between the younger and the older generation. But ultimately, in a perfect world, is these conversations between having, with the younger generation and older generation, especially, I'll speak specifically for Black men, necessary for the growth of us as people?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
You have to have the conversation. Yes.
Yeah, you can't just talk amongst yourselves, young folks. You got to talk to some people who've been there, who stepped in the shit you may be stepping in. You know what I mean? I think it is important. I think there needs to be more of these conversations. And I think to examine this, to watch, we can learn from everyone. Just like, I feel like, Toledo's character can learn from Levy and vice versa.
Yeah. And your trauma is, your trauma is not unique.
Yep.
To just you. You understand? Other people who have had the same trauma or similar trauma, and they hurt too, and they've come through, and they maybe can help you with it. But you have to have the conversation. You have to have the conversation. And I think that's what's happening in the movie. We're trying to have that conversation. It wasn't successful ultimately, but we're constantly, and I think whenever these men are together, they're having, even before Levy came in, that the conversation, Toledo's been constantly spouting the last thing he read. So the conversation is ongoing, and it has to be for us to get over these traumas that cause things like stepping on a shoe to escalate and to it escalated to a tragic event.
Post-slavery trauma.
And that's another conversation that Black men don't have, which is showing that they're hurt, showing that they're in pain, showing that these particular emotions. And I think we saw in Levy that it just, whatever it was that ignited or triggered it, it all came out. And it was a different understanding from everybody had after listening.
I think there's a beautiful thing that happens in Ma Rainey's Black Bottom in the play and in the film, is that you're able to witness Black men being holding that space of vulnerability with each other, for someone to rip up in their wound and say, I hurt right here. and to trust that it took them a moment to get there. But when they say, I hurt right here, and I want you to bear witness to this, bear witness to my pain, because that pain is also your pain. And so I think, I think the more we're able to do that, especially, I think to smash tropes of being hyper masculine, et cetera, and we can really just say, hey, to be tender with one another is, I think, very important for Black men, especially right now. So that you don't have to always feel like you have to be the strongest, the most macho, the whatever. But I feel like to say, hey, we can hold space for you to cry, for you to feel tender spaces, because you need that in order to be full and human in the world.
And that we're there for each other. We're there.
Yep.
I mean, these men are there for, and we're there for Levy. We were there for him, despite everything, because we know he was carrying a lot. You know it. But to add on to Colman, we have to trust between these men to say, okay, you can be that, and we're there for it. We're going to honor that because we get it.
Yep.
One of my favorite places in the film, favorite scenes in the film, is another setup that George took time with, that we didn't see it wasn't necessarily in the script, but in his mind as a director, and that is the door to nowhere.
Mm.
When he breaks through that door, when Levy comes and breaks through that door after being fired, and his dreams are crushed, and he breaks through that door, and there he is, surrounded by nothing but brick walls, and no place to go, no place to let out that frustration. That's a nightmare, and that's a common nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no way to escape from it. You can't run away from that trauma. There was no way to go, so you had to come back in and deal.
It's the old, it's a spiritual. I take it as that old spiritual, went to the rock to hide my face. Rock cried out, no hiding place.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. You got to deal with it. You got to come back in and deal with it.
So this film is really Black excellence personified, from August Wilson, Denzel Washington, you guys, the entire cast. And I want to know what you all believe the lasting imprint will be for this film as it pertains to Black history and the legacy it will leave behind.
I think it's a moment.
I just hope it's more than people saying it. They sure use the word nigger a lot.
I said that. I said, did they say that much in the 20s?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, they did.
Sure did.
They said worse than that. I think it's a great moment, actually.
Yeah.
I think it's a moment, like you said, to see these artists come together. Artists who could. Denzel Washington can do whatever he pleases.
Mm-hmm.
He chooses to tell these stories. He chose that. Todd Black did, Netflix, Glynn, Michael, myself, Viola, Taylor, you name it. To say, I want to be a part of this because this helps move the dial. This helps move the dial on our humanity to show complex depictions of who we are. August Wilson gave us the words, but this is just a moment. But we all said, I want to be a part of this moment. And hopefully there'll be many more after this, right. To do it at this level. And that's the level that Denzel Washington absolutely wanted as a producer. We do it at the highest level possible. So you cannot deny us our humanity. And this is just a moment and a series of more moments, hopefully, that just keeps moving it forward.
Hear, hear. Hear, hear. That's it. Our humanity, our complexity as human beings. Our space, our worth, all of that.
I have a question for you, sir.
Yes, sir.
Won't you gentlemen tell me more about who we're talking to?
So the Quintessential Gentleman is a media platform that prides itself on telling the stories, the positive stories of Black men, Black and brown men. So I started about 5 years ago, and I did not see a space where Black men were able to just be celebrated. I was not able to see anyone that looked like me, that was just content just for them, and also aspirational. So I created it. Started off as a blog, media platform. Now we have a quarterly magazine that comes out, and it's really just trying to change the narrative. It was started in 2016, back when, and I would say back when Black men were getting killed by the police, but nothing has changed. But it really was an outcry for me to really have I want to see something different. So there's no negative type of content. We don't care about the cheating scandals and all the gossip blogs and things like that. There's places for that, but with our platform, we really focus on being informative, energizing, and being aspirational.
So you're the answer to what he was talking about when he said not being a leftover, that you've already taken it into your own hands to create something that makes you relevant and continues on. Hats off to you, young man.
Yes,
thank you.
Absolutely.